But yeah, so I'll just make a quick start. If you can just stay on time, because these are some questions that were sent in before the webinar. So the first question that we've got was, can I bulk upload signatures at the end of the day?
A contractor can bulk sign, for, like you said at the beginning, for a GOS 1, 5 and a 6, depending on the multiple, but you'd have to do it under each category. So you'd have a GOS 1 option and you can bulk sign them, but I don't believe the others can bulk sign, and the site GOS 3s and GOS 4 vouchers can't be bulk signed.
Thank you. And what if the practice has internet connectivity issues on the day? What would they do in that scenario?
Yeah, this is being looked at by NHSE, so I don't have a specific answer for you at the moment. So with mandating online, that's one of their I guess things on the list of what is going to happen should you have internet connectivity or if there's a system outage. So you've got two sort of scenarios, and they're going to issue instructions on how we can deal with those. So if our system goes down our end, they will give us instructions on how we can support you, and we're hoping to update the system to support you in that basis. But what happens if you have connectivity issues? So we're waiting on NHSE's instructions on those, and we'll share those as soon as we have them.
Fantastic, thank you. I know that question was asked quite a bit in the chat as well about what happens if obviously they can't submit on the day and things. So we'll look forward to getting the information from NHSE.
Absolutely.
And what happens if they don't have a PCSE online login details?
We can arrange that. So you've been given the portal inquiries email address. They're usually the people we'd go to directly to get the access set up. So if you just provide them with your name, your email address, a contact number if you have one, because that sometimes helps, if you have to reset something and someone needs to get hold of you, then we've got somewhere to contact you on, but then they can get you set up and give you the appropriate access that's needed.
Lovely, thank you, Salma. So that was it with the questions that have come in. Now, obviously, we did plan on doing a live Q&A, but the demo did take a little bit longer than anticipated. I don't know if there was just like one or two questions that you just want to quickly run over, just so obviously we do get to answer a couple. The top one, we've kind of said system-wise, we'll have to come back to you guys on. Domiciliary, hopefully I've covered it. But if you do have any questions afterwards, do let us know so we can have a look at if there's any other support for domiciliaries we can provide. There's one here, the third one from Henry, I believe. The system now rejects site test claims if patients have been seen elsewhere and not yet due. Can PCSE allow contractors to check whether the claims are going to be rejected ahead of the visit? That's something we're working on with NHSE at the moment. There's two elements. They're looking at what they can do as an interim, because a system change is going to take us probably up until sometime early to mid next year, where it will flag it earlier on in the stage or earlier on in the process rather than at the performer signature stage. So it's being looked at. It's just not a quick fix as it stands. So we're aware of it, and NHS aware of it, and actually working through that currently. Can we access dummy forms for practice? I guess you could do, but you wouldn't be able to submit them if you were to set yourself up. You could probably play around with it to a certain point yourself. So if you set yourself up on PCSE online, go to a certain point, just do not submit those claims through. When you get to the end, cancel it and use fake names, dummy names and such, so it doesn't go through and get paid. I'd probably recommend doing that, because when you get to the end, it's literally the final stage. So you've got your calculations and everything on there. So that might be one way of doing it. Can we submit both paper and electronic submissions up to the end of the year while getting used? Yes, you can submit both paper and electronic up until the end of the year. As Debbie mentioned, it's the point of service date. So like if you did a site test on 31st of December, you sent that in January, would still accept that paper form. But there's a clear cut-off. Any new transactions or any site test or point of service from the 1st of January 2024 will not be accepted on paper. But you can do, so if you set yourself up, you can send both through. That's absolutely fine. Does each signatory have their own login details?
Yes, in a way. So yeah, each person would need to have their own login details with the appropriate roles. So whether you're a GOS performer, whether you're a contractor, claims manager, you would have to have your own login.
Right, thank you. And we've got another one. Do you have to fill the GOS forms in on the day of the site test?
No, you can do it beforehand, but you would need to get the patient's signature completed on the day of the site test. Otherwise, you'd have to call them back.
Well, thank you. So how do you get the login details?
User management, I guess. So I guess the first thing to look for is, do you guys have any user administrator set up at your organisations that have the overarching access to your system in a way. So you log in, and then they would issue out login information for each person. They can create a user on there. We can go through, I guess that would be, there'd be a slightly different webinar to talk through how user management works. So actually, this is how you can set up a user administrator and what they can do, but we can share guidance on how to do that. We have a guide on how to set up users.
We've got many different resources. It all depends on what works well for you. We know some people don't like to watch a video, or you'd sooner read how to do something. I know the user guides have got lots of pictures in there as well, and like the step-by-step guides, so that should be able to help you through. Obviously, you've got all that support. So I just had another question through about, has any provision been made for when the systems are down? Capita or hours are pretty reliable. So is there anything?
Well, there will be from the 1st of January. So that is something that's being worked on, and provisions are being made with the system allowing for you to process the claims afterwards. It'll be part of our business continuity plan that we share with you, the BCP plan, but I'm working with NHS on that. So we're currently testing. This is why I couldn't demo it. Unfortunately, it's not a live environment that's available to me to show you, but there will be functions built into there, which if you have, let's say the system was out today and you had to do the claims tomorrow, you could select that you were unable to capture a signature that was due to a system outage. You would have to put the date and the time that the outage occurred. So if it was today at 5 o'clock, for example, and I was doing the claim tomorrow, I would put today's date. So I'd put 23rd and I'd put, 1700, so that it can be captured for NHS audit purposes. And I believe, and this is why we're still working on it, because we're waiting for the final sign off from NHS and their documentation, and they will also share it with yourselves through the commissioners. There's a little slip that you'll fill in with the patient signature, so you're not capturing the signature on the system, and the claim can still be processed through without a signature, which at the moment it can. It's a mandatory field, but if there was an outage, you'd capture it on a slip should a PPV check be done. So there are definitely things that we're doing to the system to actually accommodate the full mandating online. It's just we don't have that environment available yet because we're working on it. So we're not being able to demo that. There'll be information that's shared with you shortly once that's been done to say this is coming from 1st of January. These are the little changes that you'll see, and you'll also be given the guidance on if the system is down, what steps to take to be able to still submit your claims and get payments.
Brilliant. We are due to be sending out a communication around the regulation changes and what to expect. And that should also include some information about the business continuity guidance. And that should be sometime in December. So as soon as we get the information, we'll get that out to you as well. David said, just went on the user management and it doesn't look obvious how to generate login details. I'm not sure if you've just had a look at the user guide. I believe everybody should have login details. Is that right, Salma?
For those that look at their statements, they will always have the statement view. If we need to have a look at a quick guide, I'll have a look through the guidance. So apologies, I haven't used that guide quite a bit that often because we don't deal with user management, but we can have a look for you and take that back and see, could we do maybe a little snippet of the different sections you need to go to. It's quite a straightforward process. I mean, like David said, we've run over. If we had a bit more time, I could quickly show you how we would do it from our perspective internally, but as long as you have a user administrator at your store, they will have full access to be able to set users up, which is maybe 3 clicks. You can
so there's the user management tab. So once you log into PCSE online, the user administrator will see the user management tab, and then you'll be able to click in that section. And then I think it is just a case of adding people's email addresses, and then you'll have the option to assign roles. Obviously, if you don't have the user administrator, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, you can email our portal enquiries team at PCSE. When we send out the communications to you sometime next week, I will include all this information on there. So obviously you've got the email addresses, and I'll put some user guides in there and everything to get you going. So please don't feel like you're going to be on your own through this. We will send you all the information that you need to get going.
We'll look through your questions and then we'll provide you with feedback on those. Anything, like I said, sorry, it's a quick whistle tour, so I've not covered all scenarios. You might come across different things, but we're here to help if there are any queries in that way.